And action! Hey everybody, Ann had a question about hormone replacement therapy, HRT. Hormone replacement therapy is not just for women, it's also for guys. Unfortunately, as of the last year, 2017 to 18, I've seen a lot of insurance companies have this trend on not covering testosterone anymore for guys. And I think it used to be randomly given to a lot of my men who would come in for erectile dysfunction or weight gain problems. Now, I agree with taking care of testosterone if it's on the low side when you get blood testing, but I have one gentleman who he's on testosterone from an age doctor or a doctor that specializes in age medicine. However, he wasn't given the tools to modify his exercise. He's a big exerciser, and God bless him for that, but he's still fatigued. And not only is he fatigued, but he's fatigued and stuck on testosterone, which at this point is really expensive. So I think there's other things to understand. That's why I want to tell you about HRT, whether it's male or female. I think if you're a baby boomer or a old millennial, you're going to get to this point sooner or later. I have a lot of 40-year-old moms who actually get to this point fast. I think women suffer from hormone loss or failure faster than men, and I have a feeling, or I have a theory, that it's really related to pregnancy. Pregnancy is just a big sweep of 9 months of intense hormone, and then you drop off. So God bless our moms that are out there, but it's such a challenge. And usually if we just say, your thyroid will be okay, we'll just deal with the 30 pounds weight gain afterward, and then you have another child and another child, that could put you into 100 pounds overweight. And it's a shame, but sometimes we can utilize these things. So let's talk about the nuts and bolts. But before we go on, if you're just finding me now, or if you've been sent this video from a friend, please consider hitting the subscribe button down below and the alert button, because I put these videos out and it's a wide range of different topics. Usually what I find in the clinic when I see people every day, if there's a common theme or a question of the day, I'll try to answer it here. So, hormone replacement therapy. Now, the basic premise is that we all make hormones from when we're little kids to when we're even 70, 80-year-old folks. So the objective, though, is there's 3 of them in particular that we can kind of guarantee they're going to slow down. I did a schematic here. This is supposed to be a body. So if you can see it, this little bow tie is supposed to be the thyroid, which sits here. I can usually feel it down to about 2 to 3 millimeters. After that, I need an ultrasound to feel any abnormalities or nodules or cysts. And then these are the kidneys, but on top of the kidneys sit the adrenal glands, these 2 little pyramid-looking structures. And then down here are the ovaries. I didn't get a chance to draw the male testicles, but that's the counterpart. Now, the thyroid talks to the adrenals, and those talk to the gonads, whether it's ovaries or testicles. And they're supposed to talk to each other. However, they're all supposed to answer to the brain. This is supposed to be a brain. With the hypothalamus and pituitary, and the brain is the master gland, or it has the master gland, and it's supposed to control the way these guys work together. Sometimes you'll have one or more will be the dominant, say, gland of the year, and it'll be taking precedent. Like in menopause, you have this gland that starts to turn off with a lot of women, or the testicles in a lot of men. And then the other 2 glands will have to pick up the slack, the thyroid and the adrenals. But how are they supposed to do that? For example, if you're 40 to 50, your gonads are pooping out, but you're totally fatigued because you're keeping long hours, you're skimping on your sleep, and you're not exercising, and you're gaining weight and eating the wrong foods. Your adrenals are already shot. And then if you're a mom that gave birth a couple times, your thyroid's probably slow. So I think it's very confusing, but as long as you know that the glands are supposed to work in unison, the thyroid, the adrenals, and the gonads. And in some cases, whether you have a genetic disorder or there's a lot of stress to one of the glands, say, like I mentioned, the ovaries as you get older, or the adrenals as you're younger and you're just trashing them because you think you're bulletproof. When in actuality, the adrenals, if they're not pampered and say, recharged overnight, see my video DrRic tutorial cortisol, or DrRic tutorial reset your clock, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Well, if they're constantly overused and not reset, they're going to fail. There's a concept called adrenal fatigue by Dr. James Wilson. He's a naturopath. Met him in Florida. Good book, and nice solid concepts. And a lot of my colleagues in Western medicine don't subscribe to him and his ideas, but I think they're right on. So, I mean, what's it going to hurt if you just try to change the way you sleep, eat, add a couple of supplements? It's not going to hurt anything. So, and it might actually make you work better, lose weight, and feel good again before we get to the true cortisol deficiency of later years. Thyroid too, sometimes we'll be very skeptical about just checking one thyroid test, TSH, super sensitive test. I think these glands pulse, and they usually will set off, they're made to turn on in the morning. Usually adrenals and thyroid turn on in the morning, start your day, get the body's metabolism going. And the gonads are a little different. They work for women on a monthly basis. Testicles for a guy a little bit different too, depending on stimulation and or activities of the day. But they're all supposed to work in unison. And when they are not talking to each other, when they're distracted by bad food, high stress, poor sleep, obesity, a medical disease causing us doctors to give you prescription medicines to see if we can change a couple things or force change, then everything gets screwed up and you throw a couple of other wrenches and variables in and it really gets confusing as far as, is it truly just a thyroid? Is it truly an adrenal fatigue issue? Or is it truly hormone withdrawal or hormone depletion? Hard to tell, but that's where we'll segue into the next thing. If I have somebody that's going through hot flashes, let's just stick with women. Hot flashes, vaginal dryness, moodiness, weight gain, maybe a little libido decrease, and 50 years of age, it's probably that you're going through menopause. And if you're going through menopause, fair enough, you check FSH-LH, which is a classic blood test, and if it's elevated, you're in menopause. Congratulations, here's your hormones. And then we have to go into the bioidentical, the orals, the synthetics, the topicals. But the concept there is, like a lot of my colleagues, when it gets that bad and it's proven by blood testing, go ahead and supplant. If it's not going to work, especially with regards to the ovaries, if they're not going to make estrogen anymore and they're going to throw everything out of whack, just take estrogen. Now the question is, what kind of estrogen do you take? And yes, if you start taking it because the ovaries fail, you'll probably be on it for the rest of your life. If you want to take the chance of questionable cancers. Now, not all estrogens and estrogen therapies will result in cancer. And the idea is that you're not just supposed to take it so you can postpone menopause till you're 80 years old. The idea is that if menopause or any a gland change comes on abruptly, that's a big upset to life. And sometimes we can make it, if there's suffering because of the abrupt onset of it, I think it's my duty to figure out how can we smooth down the abrupt onset. And that's where, if you're overweight, not exercising, eating poorly, have medical disease, that's where you might want to postpone, by using bioidentical hormone therapy, postpone the menopause symptoms till maybe 3 years or 5 years. But you've got 3 years or 5 years to clean up your act. You got to take care of the weight, get better eating, exercise, try to take care of those medical problems, typically high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high sugar levels. If you can bring all that stuff down, then I guarantee you that by the time we put you through a weaning off process where we wean these guys off whenever you're ready, then we might have a better life. And you'll be able to tolerate the withdrawal without even feeling. You'll hear some patients, some of my patients will say, oh, I went through menopause, I had hot flashes for a week and that's it. And that's really cool. But not all people are like that. And most Americans usually have 1, 2, or 3 diseases by the time they hit 50. And some unfortunate women have hysterectomies where you have surgical menopause at 40 because of having to remove an ovary or uterus due to a cancer of some sort, or endometriosis, inflammation, so polycystic ovarian syndrome. So and no matter where you are, if you're not having any symptoms of the menopause, cool. The other thing to consider, I just did a video on osteoporosis, so check out DrRic Question osteoporosis. You'll see what I talked about. It talked about lifestyle change mostly. but that you do have options and how to figure out when to pull in those options. But using estrogen also will help with preventing osteoporosis, because when your estrogen, when your ovaries fail, when they start to putter out, your estrogen falls, all the symptoms of menopause come up. Hot flashes, weight gain, moodiness, brain fog, sometimes loss of hair, although that's more of a thyroid thing, and definitely vaginal dryness. And when that happens, it's obvious, right? And the sweats too. But sometimes you don't feel the osteoporosis coming, or you don't feel the cholesterol increasing. Those two are also on the high end of what happens when you go through menopause. So it's important to consider everything, not just the hot flash thing. I mean, there's other things you could do naturally for hot flashes. Red clover, black cohosh, sometimes increasing flaxseed oil. There's even hypnosis and biofeedback calming practice that also helps decrease the hot flashes. St. John's wort's excellent, omega-3 fish oil. Again, an anti-inflammatory diet. So please see my video, DrRic Question Osteoporosis. I'm pretty sure I mentioned the anti-inflammatory diet. If not, I will put an anti-inflammatory video coming up. So again, subscribe. So if you don't do that, do it. Change your life. Get a coach to help you change your life. If you've already done that and you're still going through abrupt change, then that's when we consider hormone replacement therapy. You got to watch out for, you got to get a mammogram. Somebody has to check your ovaries with pap smear and or ultrasound just to make sure you're cool. If everything's cool, then we talk about replacing your hormones. There's some information that says when you take estrogen, a little bit of progesterone, maybe a little testosterone too, it's better to do it with a bioidentical compounding. Now, compounding pharmacists are pharmacists that actually make and control and put in how much they want, how much the doctor wants of the component in the pill or the topical. Luckily, there are actually prescription bioidentical topicals that are available nowadays. They're limited, but I think if your insurance company covers it, cool. If they don't, please go to your compounding pharmacist. I like Wholesome Health Pharmacy in Hoffman Estates. And a compounding pharmacist can send it anywhere in the world. So we just have to talk to them and give them your script. Again, there's oral and there's topical. Oral might be easier to just test out. If you want to go 3 months, as long as you're cancer-free and you know the side effects, go 3 months, see how it goes. See if the symptoms all alleviate. If you like it, maybe we switch over to topical. A little safer, and supposedly the oral can have a chance, if you're a diabetic, of increasing CRP, which is an inflammatory marker. And topical might be a better way. Again, it's affordability and sustainability while we go through the 3 to 5 years of getting healthy again. So if you can't afford it, if your insurance doesn't afford it, then you'll have to go synthetic. And the synthetics are old. My father, who is OB-GYN, he used to give it all the time. And then there's a Women's Health Initiative which found that there was correlation between estrogen use before at high dose and then breast cancer, but we've since got off that bandwagon. We've lowered the amount of estrogen, put a little progesterone in, and there's more science to it. So whether you do herbals, whether you do just lifestyle change, whether you do yams or food, nutrition, or the prescriptions, bioidentical or synthetic, I think it all is an initiative to control the suffering, control the symptoms while you make the changes in the lifestyle, whether you do it now or do it later, it's always important, as I always end my videos with, changing your mindful practice, changing the way you react to stress, changing the way you eat, and changing your activities. Those are, I think, the 3 most important components that get you to change, and when you change, you'll see a world of difference in the way you tolerate your age and your disease process. So good question, and hopefully this gives you a little bit more of an idea. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll get you more information in the coming weeks.